Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be showing you the project of building the light fixture that you see there that's going to end up over our dining room table. I'm in the process of making our dining room light fixture, and I didn't think about recording it because I'm just trying to get stuff done. But what I've done is I've pulled a piece of white oak out of our wood pile down by the sawmill, run it through the planer, cut it down to an inch, laid out where the light fixtures are going to go. And the reason I'm doing this is I didn't like the mounting that they came with. It had some ugly screws sticking out the side. So I've taken a hole saw that's a little bit bigger than this, and I've recessed it so that just this piece is a little bit's going to be sticking out. Now I'm about to cut the middle out, and part of the reason that I'm doing this is because the way that the cord mounts, there's not enough space between the nut and the flange to do it on a piece of wood. It's designed for a thin piece of sheet metal. And so I'm just doing this, and it might make it a little more visually interesting anyway. So I'm about to cut the middle out so I can run the wiring, and then I've got some more machine work to do to this thing, and then we'll start getting it ready to put together. About killed that itty bitty little battery. Yep. Okay, next step, I'm going to chamfer these edges, and then we'll flip it over, and I've got to route out some channels on the back of this for the wiring. Okay, those grooves are roughly a ½ inch deep. This board's an inch thick, so that means that I can only take out about 3/8 of an inch in the vicinity of these circles. Here I'm using a combination square to set the depth of cut for the router I'm going to use to route the groove on the back of this for the wire. Part of it could be this 2-3-year-old well-seasoned oak too. And this bit's a little big for this thing, but yeah, well. I think it says oak because it's kind of abusing that bit. To maintain the crisp lines on this bevel, I'm using a sanding block instead of the random orbital sander, because no matter how careful you are with that random orbital, you will have a tendency to round over those corners. Wind laid down enough to get some paint on this thing, and it's a little warmer. See how many bugs get in this. That looks like number one. About 30 minutes. Check it, see if there's anything I missed. If not, we'll give it an hour and then put it together. Okay, finally got these base plates attached to this thing. I didn't have any black RTV. We just ended up using clear silicone. And then this morning, after the silicone had set up, I flipped it over and put some Gorilla Glue in to kind of get up behind the, well, I turned it over. To get up behind the cutout between the 1/4 inch or so of wood and the metal, and kind of glue it together, because the silicone was not making me feel overly confident that it was going to stay attached. They're not going to fall off because the wire, I'm going to, run the wire in this channel, and I'll do like you see on PCBs where they kind of pot this stuff in hot glue. So I'm going to put hot glue in here once we get our wires and everything to the right length. But I just didn't want the base plates, dropping down, because then I've got to pull the whole fixture off the ceiling to fix it. So what we figured out, typical dining table height is about 30 inches. And we don't want, lights sitting in your line of sight when you're sitting at the table. And it seems that the average height above a table for your dining room lighting is 30 to 36 inches. Well, my wife and I, sitting here looking at it last night, figured that about 66 inches looked about right, because if the dining table for some reason is moved out of the way, they're hanging low enough that they'll be in the average person's line of sight, so you don't run into it. But when you're sitting at the table, it's above your line of sight, and the light is going to be coming down in more of a pyramid shape or inverted funnel shape to, equally like the table. So if we assume, like when we're putting the cabinets in, the average height for the ceiling is 95 inches off the floor, that means that we end up wanting the bottom of the light below this 36 inches off the table. And when we take the height that we want, subtract it from the 95, we end up with a total length of 29 inches. when I start putting this together, you'll see that the glass that goes on the light are two different lengths, two different styles. So we end up, when we take out the thickness of the board and the protrusion of this metal plate, I can figure out how long this cable needs to be. And they're all a little different because since I didn't have a drill press, I freehand drilled them. They're not exact, but they're within, 1/8 of an inch or so of each other. So, up against the ceiling, it's not going to be noticeable because you're not going to be up there looking at it on the same plane. So anyway, what that means is that this first one, from the bottom of this, which is sitting on top of the globe, to this plate ends up being 16 inches. The next one is 16 1/8, and the way that I'm figuring that out is using a square and just eyeballing it. This piece actually clamps down on the cable. It's like a collet. So there's a cone shape inside this piece, and these are cone shaped on the end, and when it tightens down on it, it just clamps on it. So anyway, since I know that the top of the light is going to be 16 1/8 from the bottom of that board, I just line this up with the corner of my square, slide the collet up, and then line up the top of the mounting shoulder on this piece that tightens down. Line the top of that up with my 16 1/8 mark, hold it in place, tighten it down, and then put it on the base. This is probably one of those things where I'm about to speak blasphemy. It'd be a lot easier to do using the metric system. And honestly, dude, measurements, I'm not too picky about the metric system. Temperature, yeah, that drives me crazy trying to figure that crap out. I mean, sure, 0 is freezing, but I think for the metric system in Celsius, people are falling over dead in Europe at like 40 degrees or something. All right, I didn't figure y'all wanted to watch me wiring this thing up, but basically I just took the factory wiring, coiled up the excess in here, ran it down, and then daisy chained all of these wires together so that we ended up down here at a central tie-in point that's going to go in the box in the ceiling. And I just used hot glue to hold it in there, and that way if we ever need to do anything to it, it'll be real easy to get apart. I mean, if you've ever taken any kind of electronics or anything apart, especially anything that's come out of China, you've seen hot glue all over it. It just holds everything together, and it's easy to take apart if you need to. So I'm gonna attempt to get this thing up and mounted and square to the ceiling. All right, that's relatively close. Alright, let's see if I can drop this and skim it all up. Have to redo the paint. Okay, let's see how wonky looking that is. Pretty bad. Needs to go that way. Nothing like drilling extra holes in the dang ceiling. But, doing stuff by yourself. Thankfully, I put these close enough together and far enough from the edge that the hole won't be exposed. That's pretty bright. I think you probably need to put a dimmer on that. I don't know. Y'all tell me what you think. So, one of my projects for today is attempting to repair this. Our electrician put the exhaust fan for the studio bathroom in before the drywall, obviously. And the drywall break in the ceiling where they flattened it out is side of that box. So I've got to extend that down, extend the box down, and then trim it out so that the cover will mount on there and be flat and look right. All right, folks, I think that's going to wrap this video up for today. Thank you for watching, and y'all have a good day.